The Kodak Brownie. This is the Hawkeye camera flash model. I picked this up at a pawn shop recently. I love these old box cameras. They are pretty unique. Now this one I already did some disassembly to get onto the project that I'm going to be discussing. What I'm going to be doing is taking the guts from this camera and putting them into this camera. This is how you open it. You'll notice mine is actually empty. So I've removed the mechanism in here for the shutter mechanism. So the spring that resets the trigger kept falling off, so I had to drill a little hole in there and put a wire on it so that will still hold still. Similar thing over here for the long exposure setting. I had to drill and add a wire stop there. That way on the outside it looks functional, but on the inside we have a little project we're going to do. I'm going to be mounting this camera right like that and possibly have the board at an angle like this. My next step is going to be to take off this face panel and widen the holes there. There's no manual on destroying a vintage camera. With that in mind, I'll also point out, I know sometimes people are always they get really mad when you destroy something that's a vintage unit. I look at it like this: I'm saving something that'll be used for years to come in a way that makes it more useful. Because having a pretty camera sitting on the shelf is, it's nice. And I've got a lot of them. I like pretty cameras. But this isn't an extremely valuable item. You can pick these up. I think I got this for $10 or $12. So I go to antique shops quite often. I see these regularly. If somebody feels like taking one of these apart is destroying the Mona Lisa, they need to go to more antique shops because they are not that rare. They made a lot of them. They were really popular. I have a few other cameras that are more unique, and I would never tear them apart, and I would just keep them as is. But this type, not quite dime a dozen, but it is very close to it. So these ones are great for projects. So don't feel bad. Also, a lot of people don't care about stuff like that. They just throw them away. There's a lot of these things end up at Goodwill or local thrift shop. So if you can repurpose it, by all means, do it. Okay, so we got the board to be able to fit by taking out some material here. It was touching here, and here, and here. And if you noticed, I accidentally hit my mechanism and it all disconnected. So I'll need to be redoing that as well. Luckily, I was able to find the spring. So let's see if I can get it put back together. Okay, got it back on. Now my trigger and spring work. While I've got it at this stage, I'm just going to go ahead and do some cleaning to it. Just continue to remove everything and just take Q-tips and some rubbing alcohol and just kind of get the years of grime out of there. What I need to work on now is I've got this unit here, and it needs to go in like that. But this sticks up too high. This is the antenna for, I think, the Wi-Fi. So I need to make a notch. Here, let's take that off again. The ribbon needs to come off. There we go. What needs to happen is that needs to be notched right about there, like that. So it's pretty much between that. And I think I have enough meat here in the plastic to cut a little groove right in here. So let's try that. And this now sits flat in there, which will allow enough clearance for this camera to mount right here. Now I'll go ahead and retrieve the microphone from the old unit. Just pry it out of there. I was able to drill that out. This now has an opening here. What I'm going to do is probably just hot glue this right to the base like that. The beginning step is done. This needs to angle up a little bit. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hot glue on the mic to the side here, to that port. And then I'm going to put a little hot glue bead underneath this to keep this up and away from the bottom. what I'll probably do is figure out a couple spots where this needs to go, and I'll just put a glob of glue to get it to that right height, and then it will stay in there pretty firm. When I was a kid, I used to build popsicle stick with hot glue guns and popsicle sticks, and I would build little figurines or helicopter, and I'd take a battery or a motor out of a CD player or something and use that to turn my props. My mom thought it was so amazing, and I was always like, Mom, it's just popsicle sticks. You know how moms are, though. Everything their kid does is amazing. All right, I'm going to try a little assembly here. So far, it fits. I've got the lens here. Yeah, I totally would not see that as a camera just by glancing at it. Cool. So a couple ideas to get the power cord is I buy a 12-volt adapter, run it from here, and mount it to the back in here somewhere, and then I just plug the unit in to the back of the camera, which is what I'll probably end up doing, but I don't have one of those yet, so I can't do that quite yet. But I do want to test it inside the unit, so I don't know if this red pops out. Seems like it would. All right, so I pushed it out, just broke the film, cut my finger, but I think that we're good. So I'm just gonna do this for now. I'll probably make a better setup. This is for the test. I'm gonna plug that in there. It is now powered on, and here we go. All right, so you see what I was talking about with the field? It cuts all that out, but we've got a functional hidden camera. These types of projects really are trial and error. There's no manual to follow. There's no right way to do it. Lots of wrong ways to do it. For example, one of the things I'm concerned about is heat dissipation. So I might put this camera on like a smart switch so that it's not on all the time. It'll only be in a part of the house and turn it on at a time when I want it on. And, you know, it'll be just fine that way. I decided to splice together an actual 12-volt plug. This is just a male and female end that I'm going to just hot glue into place. That way it's not a permanent bond if I ever want to upgrade that little plate there. And it should work great. So I think I'll wrap the project up here. For the bottom, I'll most likely just put a piece of electrical tape for now to hold it still, and that'll take care of that. I'm not too worried about that for the long term, but there you have it. This was a fun little project to do, and I appreciate you watching. Hope you enjoyed.